Hey guys, we are back for week 3 of the Tour de Zwift, and as you can see I was yoked for this one. We're in the warm-up pens, I'm at 130 watts, I'm already 150 BPM, so I was pretty amped for this. We're going through, we're just going to do the whole thing at double speed this week, because last week I tried to skip around, it was kind of a disaster. So we're just going to do the whole thing double speed. So I was able to start near the front row here, and then this week we have a climb almost immediately. We'll look at the stage profile a little bit later, but for now you can see we're coming in and we're going to do another left turn, and then we're going to be basically on the climb right away. Another big difference for this week compared to last week is there are a lot more power-ups. So basically every time we go through one of these red and white dots we get a power-up. We got one at the start and a couple other spots as well. So here we are right off the bat, and I had a very aggressive strategy this week. It was a different profile, but you can see I'm already, if you look at the top right, I'm opening a gap between people. I was going pretty hard at the start, and then my idea was basically go really hard on the steepest parts, back off on the other parts. So I'm not trying to stay away forever. I'm just sort of chilling out here and expecting them to catch up to me, kind of hoping they'll catch up to me, and then over the top, hopefully we're all together. Another thing I was trying to do was working on standing up more on my bike. You can see here it'll come up in the steeper part, and I stand up off the bike right there, and it was just a couple of adjustments I wanted to make for this week. So now that we're over the top of the first climb, I'll go ahead and pull out the stage profile. So this actually doesn't include the climb we just did, the lead-in, but so now we're going down this part here, and then we'll have a lot of climbs, a lot of very short climbs, I guess, this week. And so this is a lot different from the last two races, where the first race we had two kind of medium length climbs, I would say, and then last week we had one long climb at the end after being pretty flat the whole time. So I was trying to think about how do I want to approach this, and also like how does this fit into what are my strengths as a rider, right? So we had this graph where we saw, you know, I'm more of a sprinter, but I'm also light, so like my overall raw watts in a sprinter are not that high compared to a lot of other people. But I thought maybe on a route like this we could actually use that to our advantage, so we can basically sprint up the climbs and try to gain pretty good time advantage there, because obviously the slower you're going, the more a power difference makes, right? So you sprint up the climbs and go the same speed on the flats, you'll end up way ahead of somebody who does a sprint on the flats and the normal speed on the climbs, the normal wattage on the climbs. So my idea was basically we'll just try to sprint up all the climbs and then chill out and the rest of it and see how we can do. Now there are a couple parts I was worried about from that. So there's a kind of a flatter section or slow uphill section here. We're coming up to another climb, so I'll pull this off to the side. But basically the like the slight uphill sections where I was worried about most, because that's the part where the people who have higher raw wattage than me, similar watts per kilogram, are really going to be able to make a difference. So you can see here, standing up again, sprinting over a climb, high percent grade, high power for me, and I'm doing what I want to do, is getting up to the front of the pack on every climb, and then able to sort of relax a little bit. I don't have to worry about trying to catch up on a downhill. I don't have to worry about, you know, trying to fight my way back at another time. Here we are, another short climb, just up on the pedals, and coming out of those two climbs, I'm where I want to be. Again, I'm in the draft, and I'm just trying to stay in a good position here. So that was my general strategy for this one. Like I said, there are some flatter uphill sections I was kind of worried about, but really I just wanted to try to be aggressive and see how long I could hold on, I guess. I was thinking about, like, a lot of the times when I go up these, you know, your legs feel tired, right? But I just wanted to basically go a little bit harder than I thought was reasonable, and I'd rather err on the side of going too hard on the climbs and basically run out of gas before the finish, because I was trying a new strategy. I wanted to see how it worked, and I thought it might be good for what my strengths are. And with that in mind, I didn't really have a goal like I think we talked about last week how I wanted to finish in the top 25%. This week I had no goal. I thought either what I'm going to try is going to work really well and I'm going to do well, or I'll just totally blow up and it'll be a disaster and I'll be one of the last people to finish. But so far so good. We're going into one of the first longer kind of flattish to slight uphill sections. So I guess we can look at some of the one of the workouts I did earlier this week to try to practice for this. So this was on Tuesday. I basically did trials of this, right? So I went onto a route that has a lot of like shorter hills, and I basically just did standing sprint segments for them. So I did like a short one here, a short one here, short one here, and you can see by the cadence dropping also that that's when I was standing. So it was really just, but the main difference here, of course, was I was able to drop way lower between the efforts. So I felt pretty good about how I was going to be able to approach this, but I still wasn't like supremely confident. And then I guess the other thing I was kind of worried about is like I mentioned, there were a lot of different power-ups. So you could get one basically at the top of each of the hills. And then I thought there was another one somewhere like in this stretch here and then in this stretch here, but I couldn't remember exactly where it was. So that was, I guess, one thing I could have done a little bit better, is know exactly where those power-ups were. Like, I don't think that the feather I used early on here was good. Like, these guys are using it probably in a better spot. I probably could have had a better spot for that feather. The two power-ups are the feather makes you lighter going uphill, and the anvil, which makes you heavier. But the anvil only applies where you're going downhill. So if you use it go on a downhill section, then you hit an uphill section, it doesn't penalize you for that. So that's, I guess, I think in general the feather's a little bit better, but at least the anvil it doesn't like penalize you for using it at the wrong time, because that could be disastrous. This is the spot where I was the most worried about in the entire race. You can see it's getting really stretched out here. I'm getting kind of far back, and I'm already like above 200, which is where I don't want to be when I'm having to chase back. So this was where I was most nervous. Early on I'd been feeling pretty good because that first climb went way better than I was expecting. The second one went pretty well as well. And even in that first uphill section in between them, I was feeling pretty comfortable. But thankfully, we were able to come back together, get back below 200, and back sort of where I want to be, up near the front of the pack. So coming in up here, we're going to do one more little kicker of a climb, and then we're going to do 4 laps of a circuit, and then go back the way we're coming now. So turn around and go the other way. So again, just wanted to try to attack this climb here. This would have been a better spot to use. No, because I got the anvil. So I guess it was right to use that feather. I could have just used it later than I did. And then over here, it does flatten out a little bit, but I'm still trying to, push over all the way over the top of the hill. Not push super hard, but just try to make sure I'm not falling back too early. And then so now we're going to get into the main circuit. We do this 4 times. Coming up at this next intersection is where it starts. So in my scouting, I actually thought this hill coming up was a little bit steeper than it is. It's not quite that steep. It's fairly gradual coming up here. And then a little bit steeper near the end, but it's not super steep. So I think maybe in a different, like a smaller race, maybe you'd want a steeper hill so you can attack and make a big difference here. For me, I was just trying to sort of surge up to the front of it. You can see again, I'm standing up, and then backing off on the way down. And every time around here, you get a power up, so you can get again either the anvil or the feather. I think I was fairly lucky at this point, where I got mostly feathers. I mean, the anvil's fine. There's not this is a moderately steep downhill. You get 2%, 1%, 3%. The anvil is not a crazy difference maker. I like the feather a little bit more. So we're coming along here, and then coming up near the end of the circuit, we've got one more turn here. And then coming up over the bridge, there's just one more little surge you have to be ready for. So I was basically just shifting up one gear, standing up, not going crazy hard here, but just making sure I don't fall back at all, and ideally pushing forward just a little bit. First time around, I was still feeling pretty good. My heart rate is fairly high, but I was high like even before the race started, so I wasn't super concerned about it. My legs felt good at this point. I was basically just, I wasn't going to try to attack and, you know, make a small group, just because there are so many people still around, like 30 people at least, probably closer to 40. I thought that even like a small group of 5 would have a lot of trouble staying away, and I didn't think that was my best chance of success. I thought I was better off just trying to push up this climb, relax the rest of the way around except for that little bit over the bridge, and overall try to save some energy for that last bit, because after the 4th time around, going back the way we came, I did think that was going to be tough. You can see here we've already set a new 20-minute, I think that's a 2nd place 20-minute power record, but still going fairly hard, even though we are able to back off a little bit between the climbs getting down. I was really worried that I'd have to push in the downhills, and thankfully that wasn't the case. I don't know exactly why it wasn't the case here, where it's been the case in some of the other races in the past, but I'm just glad it wasn't. Being able to get down below 200 to be able to recover some was a godsend, and be able to get the RPMs up as well to sort of just try to spin and get the blood flowing through the legs. I'd done a little bit of pre-race scouting on the people who were signing up, but I didn't do that much, because also a lot of, like, I was looking at it last night and a lot of people signed up in the 12 hours between when I was looking at it and now. There are a couple of people I was looking at who I thought would be strong, but my rival from last week, I don't know if you guys remember him, the Avocado Man, I didn't see him sign up. I was hoping he would sign up the day of. Unfortunately, I don't think he did, so no chance to get revenge today. But one of the people I thought was going to be strong was S. Swapinski here. We can see a little bit ahead of us. I thought it'd be unlikely I would beat them. Alright, we're on the 3rd time around here, so we got one more time around. I don't think I have that much more to say about this part of the race, so I guess, I don't know. Just real quick, like, ice needs to get out. I don't know, it's tough. I almost didn't want to make this video today because it's just so frustrating. Like, they're out here killing people in the streets, and this is what a lot of the people in the government, in the executive branch, want. They want them to be out there rounding up minorities just for the color of their skin, and they want them to be now killing anyone who is white and stands up for these minorities, and it's just outrageous. And I think that we need to get accountability and justice, and it needs to apply to the people who are in charge of the current deployments and also the people who are out there on the streets terrorizing people and killing people. It's really just unconscionable. Sorry for the sidebar, but it's just been on my mind today. So we're one last time around. We got some other people ahead of us, but that was actually lapped riders. I guess I was a little bit worried about that at some points, was like falling back a little bit, seeing a gap go, and then, oh, that's not lapped riders, that's somebody I need to keep track of. But staying up near the front of the race, I was able to not have to worry about that so much. I wasn't expecting to be first over that last hill the 4th time around, but I thought maybe I'll push a little bit, try to get the heavier riders a little bit more to worry about, and then maybe I can recover here and you know, just try to burn their matches more than I'm burning mine. So now we're the last time over the bridge here, and then we're going to turn left this time and go back the way we came. So I did get a feather coming out of here. I wasn't sure the best spot to use this feather, but this climb coming up is kind of steep. So I thought I should probably use it there, and then hopefully I would get another feather before the end of the race. But this climb is short, right? So I'm using it here right at the base of the climb, and I'm going hard. But like the steepest part of the climb is over. I'm in front, and I still have half my power-ups left, so I was a little bit worried that wasn't the best place to use it, but I don't know. I didn't know a better spot to use it, because we're going back down a hill again here, and then there's a longer uphill section. Maybe that would have been a better spot. I thought maybe I was going to get a power up there at the peak of that hill. Better to use it early, I guess, and than waste a potential power up. So now this is basically the last stretch I was really worried about, and you can already see people are getting away from me. I'm having to stand up even when I wasn't really planning to. This is a shallower section. But this is the stretch I was really worried about, was this long, shallower uphill. It's still kind of steep at points, but I was worried I was going to be really drained in the legs from the earlier efforts and trying to save something for later on. And like I said, the higher raw wattage. I was, yeah, kind of worried about it. So, like, I see this guy going away, and like, ugh, because there were points in the circuit where I was like, you know, this is going pretty well. Maybe I can try to contest a win. But when I see this guy going away at the front, I was like, all right, that's probably not going to happen. Let's just try to hold on here. Try to make sure we're not losing contact. I also, you can see I'm sort of going towards the middle line a lot. I don't know how many other people have like this thing where you can steer. I don't have it. I don't know how much of a disadvantage it is. I feel like if you can get in the middle of the pack rather than on the side of the pack, it is a fairly big advantage. And then also obviously taking the inside and the outside of the turns. I don't know. I don't want to spend like $100 to get it, but I kind of wish I had it. So now we're coming up to the start and finish again. We're gonna see that same left turn into the final uphill, and here I'm just devastated. I got the anvil. I really wanted the feather. The anvil is not great here. You can use it for the little dip into the climb, but it's so much worse than a feather for this last spot. But you know, there's nothing you can do. So I'm attacking this climb hard again. Not quite as hard as I attacked it last time, and sure enough, people are keeping up with me a lot better, right? So last time I already had a gap here, a 3-second gap. This time this guy's keeping up with me. We're on a flatter section. I try to get in the draft, but he's still just crushing it, and I'm like, ugh, already at 187 BPM, trying to recover a little bit for the next steep section. He's just gone. I'm like, all right, I'm not gonna win. Let's just see what else we can do. Maybe we can do a top 5. So another flatter section here, trying to recover a little bit. And then there's one more steep section before the end. I'm in 6th right now. Like, oh no! But get on those pedals, stomp away. Go as hard as I can. It's harder when it flattens out because there's not as much resistance. Trying to go a higher RPM. Maybe I should have shifted up again. Grinding. He passed me at the very last second. Oh, he got me by 0.01 seconds. And he had the anvil too, so I can't even complain that it was the feather. But still, top 5 is way better than I was expecting to do on this race. I'm just absolutely slaughtered here. Really used everything here. Way better than I expected to do. Very happy about that. And we can look at, I guess, some of the stats. So we had overall, we can look at the laps up the hills. So this was the first time we did it, the lead-in, that first hill, 203, and then up the final hill, 153. So I suspect if I looked at it closer, the first part of it, the first pitch, I did faster the first time up. The second pitch, I did faster the second time up, and also the area in between. So overall, faster the second time up, which is good. I had something left for the end. As for the one we went over 4 times, the fastest time was actually the first time up, but the second time, the last time was the second fastest time, and overall they were fairly consistent, 42, 45, 46, 43. So I would say my plan worked pretty well. It might have felt harder than I thought was originally reasonable, and sure enough, I had some new records here. I had a new 10-minute power record, a new 20-minute power record, and a new heart rate record as well. We can look at the heart rate graph. All-time heart rate records for everything 15 minutes and over, and then also a couple points shorter, 2 minutes 50 seconds. This one, where I went over 200, I was having something weird going on that day. That was like an arrhythmia thing last summer at one point from the heat maybe. So I don't worried about that data. But yeah, heart rate was just crushing today. And then power graph, also some localized near records around, at least for this season, around the 2-minute marker, and then everything like 6 minutes, and then up here as well. And again, with the watt prime balance, it went just way into the negative this time. So I think I need to adjust that probably a little bit, because something there isn't right. I also wonder like if there's a way to increase, because I feel like maybe the overall amount I have is not um, is not the problem, but maybe in these sections where I'm recovering, I recover faster. So I don't know if there's any way to adjust how fast you recover when you're below threshold there. Something for me to look into. And then finally, looking at the overall scoreboard on Zwift Power, which doesn't have everybody, but for all the people who signed up for it, in my category, I was predicted to finish 38th based off past results, and I finished 4th. So very, very happy with how this went. Next week, I think it's Richmond, so it's a couple climbs near the start, a longer flat section, and then I think one more climb at the end. So I don't expect to do this well because of that long flat section. But who knows? Maybe I'll attack on the climbs, do something crazy, and try to get a smaller group, and maybe that'll help. We'll see. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you next week.